Okay, good morning. I hope you can hear the voice, right? ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
Yes, sir.
Akash.
Yes, sir.
Okay, continue with this. So in the last class, we have started this first module. In this, we learned about materials. In materials, we had two types: metals, non-metals. Metals is once again further classified into ferrous and non-ferrous. Then mechanical properties. Then followed by we learned about different stresses, right? We had normal stress. We studied about normal stress, shear stress, and bearing stress. Totally types of stresses we have studied. So next is strain. So what is strain? So you have learned, right? Charan. Charana is. Dienappa. So how do you define strain? Anybody? So what do you mean by strain? Strain is nothing but a deformation, right? So whenever a body is subjected to load, so after its resistance crosses at certain point of a load, it undergoes a deformation. A ductile material, if it is a ductile material, it undergoes deformation. If it is brittle, it does not undergo any deformation. So if it is a ductile, it undergo deformation. That deformation that is being done in the body due to the applied force, that we call it as, it may be, if it is a tensile load, the body undergoes elongation. If it is a compressive load, the body undergoes reduction in length. So that elongation in length or deformation, we call it as elongation or reduction in length due to the applied force, that we call it as strain, right? So that strain is defined by Greek symbol E. Greek symbol E, you can see there, Greek symbol E. So it is defined by change in length to original length, or change in dimension to original dimension. For example, suppose the initial length of the member, it is L. Initial length of this original length, if you just consider original length is L. The change in length after application of load, whether it is tensile or compression, suppose we just say the initial length something like 100 mm. After the applied load, the change in length is something like, it goes on increasing. If you take it is tensile, it may increase some 100.5 mm. So then 0.5 mm is a change in length. 0.5 mm is a change in length. So strain is defined as change in length to original dimension. Change in length is given by delta L. Delta L. So it is given by the equation delta L by L. So just, it is a basic equation. You need to remember these equations. So, right, strain is given by delta L by L. So there are different types of strains. We define the definitions in the later slides. So it is given by, if it is a tensile force, we call it as linear strain. If the force acting it is in the axial direction, it may be tensile force. If it elongates the member, if it is a compressive force, it reduces the member. So then the lateral strain, we have a lateral strain. The lateral strain, that with respect to cross section, that varies the dimension of the cross section. Then shear strain that exists somewhere along the plane of a member. Then volumetric strain with respect to total volume is defined. So that will define in the latest slide. So the first one, it is a linear strain. The first one, it is a linear strain. Just be familiar with these things. It is very much needed. So when you are going to derive any of the expressions in later topics, so just remember the equation of stress or the strain. The first one, it is a linear strain. So initially we'll consider a member. You can see the diagram here. There is some rectangular block or any block it is there. So whether it is a rectangular or it may be a circular. A block of length L. So this is the initial dimension of the block. So this length is L. And it is applied with the axial force F. It is applied with axial force F. You can see there, it is applied with axial force F, which is tensile force. Tensile force. After the application of the force, the initial length of the block is L. After this elongation or applied force after applying the tensile force, the block increases its length by dl, or it is delta L. It increases the length by dl or delta L. So next, so how to define the strain for this tensile strain? It is change in length. It is the extension. It is the extension or elongation of a bar due to ratio of change in length to original length. So it is dl or delta L called as delta L by L. dl or delta L is the change in length. L is the original length, right? In a similar condition, if the force acting on the block it is, so this is the initial length of the block. So this is the initial length of the block. So when the force acting, it is compressive in nature. We have studied different types of forces in last class. The force acting, it is compressive in nature. So it induces the compressive stresses. The compressive stress will tend to decrease the length of this block. So this the length of this block is L. So it is reduced by a length. So you can see that from this position, the block has moved to this, the gray color. It indicates it has been reduced. So it is reduced by a length dl. So due to compressive force. So then compressive stress can be defined with the same equation, change in length. So this change in length is due to compressive stress, it is reduction. It is reduction in length. So original length remains same L. So the equation is same, delta L by L or dl by L. So this is for linear strain. So next one, it is lateral strain. Lateral strain. So as you can see there, the strain induced around the circumference. So it is not along the length wise, it is along the cross section. It is along the cross section. The strain induced along the cross section. For example, when the same sketch, if you just imagine the previous sketch, in this first sketch, it is the tensile forces are acting. The initial length is L. The initial length is L. So this is the initial length. After application of length, after application of the load, this length L will increase. When this length L increases, this cross section will be reduced. Due to the ductility of the material, the cross section will be reduced. That is shown here. So this is the reduction in cross section that we call it as lateral strain, right? So that is the lateral strain. So we define this with the equation of Poisson's ratio that will come in the next that will come in the next slide. So there we'll define with Poisson's ratio the lateral strain. So next one, it is shear strain. Shear strain. So just imagine we have a block that is placed here, that is applied with the forces, that is tensile force. Then after application of the force, the strain that is induced with respect to this axis in a perpendicular direction, deformation that is taking place. You can see there is a bend of a member from its initial position, So just imagine there are two blocks here, something the dotted is one block and top is another block, some two plates are fitted with respect to, so with the nut and bolt arrangement or any rivets. So when the forces are applied with the two plates, one of the block tends to move with respect to other block. So this movement is given with some alpha A. So as the applied force is it may be some applied force, it is tangential direction, it is acting in the shear strain. The shear stress, the forces will be acting tangentially to the surface. Due to these tangential forces, the one of the block will tend to slide with respect to perpendicular direction. So then the stresses induced due to this, or deformation induced due to this, we call it as shear strain. So the last one, it is the volumetric strain. With respect to the total volume to initial volume, we define the volumetric strain considering the total volume of the block. It is the ratio of change in volume to its original volume. So just remember this equation also, volumetric strain is given by saying, strain is given by E, Greek symbol E, and its suffix it is V. If it is volumetric strain, E, V, that is equal to ratio of change in volume to original volume, similar to the change in length to original length. Linear strain, volumetric strain is change in volume to original volume. We need this equation also to derive some of the equations, and also the linear strain, general equation for strain, to derive the equation. So just a basic definitions. It may be asked for 1 or 2 marks. Define volumetric strain, define linear strain. You need to write with equation. The lateral strain, you will get one more expression there. There I will explain this. You just think that it is with respect to the cross section, the reduction in cross section or diameter. We call it as lateral strain if it is a circular member. If it is a rectangular member, there will be width and breadth will be reduced and increased. So these are different strains. You have to, you must be knowing about all the equations. You should be knowing. The volumetric strain, it is given by EV, Greek symbol EV, change in volume to original volume. Yeah. So here comes the basic, as I told about lateral strain, it is given by Poisson's ratio. It is a ratio where Poisson's definition, these definitions are also being asked. Poisson's ratio, it is given by mu, the symbol mu. So you just look at this sketch. So when the block, some block it is applied with tensile forces. So these are the force directions. Just imagine it is applied with tensile force. There is a linear strain that is induced in the longitudinal axis. So this is the longitudinal axis along the direction of the force. The strain induced, that we call it as longitudinal strain. So then also there is a strain that is induced along the cross section of the member. That we call it as lateral strain. The strain induced along the longitudinal axis, we call it as linear strain or longitudinal strain. The strain along the cross section of the member due to the applied force, whether it may be increase in length if it is a tensile force, or it may be increase in diameter if it is compressive forces. This gets increased, this volume gets increased, this area. So then we call that as lateral strain. Poisson's ratio, it is defined as ratio of lateral strain to linear strain. So just note on these equations. I told in the last class also. So wherever the equation comes, just note down. By the end of this, I told you'll get more than 100 equations, or so you need to remember all. It gets confused. So better you note down as and when it is coming, right? The Poisson's ratio, it is defined as ratio of lateral strain. So this is the lateral strain, that is reduction or increase with respect to cross section, to ratio of linear strain. That is, if it is a tensile force, this length increases. If it is a compressive force, reduction in length, the lateral or linear, that is linear strain, right? So even the definitions you need to be knowing, right? You need to apply these definitions in many of the derivations, the lateral Poisson's ratio expression, as well as volumetric strain, basic stress, and strain equations. So that is the definition for Poisson's ratio. It is given by mu. Right. The next one, it is Hooke's law. It has been also asked, define Hooke's law. Right. So maybe, yeah. If I consider this diagram, it is a member that is subjected to load. It may be tensile load. Just imagine it is a ductile material. So stress along y-axis, strain along x-axis. So when the stress increases, the strain also increases. That is stress in the sense the member is subjected to load. The load goes on increasing from 0, 10, 20, 30, 40 newtons, like that. We go on increasing the load. So when we go on increasing the load, the elongation of the member takes place. The member will expand. Since it is a tensile force, imagine the tensile forces are applied on this bar at a specimen. And due to this tensile force, the bar gets expanded. Imagine this is the initial length, gauge length we call it as. So due to the application of the load, this member will goes on elongating. The member length will be increased. So when the length, that is stress increases, the strain also increases. From point O, we just consider the strain goes on increasing along with the stress. That is, the stress is proportional to strain up to the point A. Up to the point A, stress is directly proportional to strain up to the point A. So that is given by Hooke's law. That is given by Hooke's law. The Hooke's law states that the stress is directly proportional to A. That is, stress is directly proportional to strain. Stress is directly proportional to strain. That is, as stress increases, strain also increases. So if stress increases by 1 unit, strain is also increased with the same proportion up to this point A. So this point A, we call it as proportionality limit. And also after this point, also the stress increase. The stress is not proportional, but it is in the elastic region. So up to where, by this we define the Hooke's law as the stress is directly proportional to strain within the elastic limit. So what is elastic limit? You have studied the mechanical properties. The elasticity is defined as, so whenever the material is loaded, it expands or it deforms. Remember, it expands or compresses. Basically, it deforms. So its dimension changes. Whenever that load is released, it comes back to its initial length or initial shape. So that we call it as elasticity or elastic limit. So that Hooke's law is given by stress is directly proportional to strain within elastic limit. So this word matters more. If you remove this, so that is not that will not state the Hooke's law in a proper condition. So stress is directly proportional to strain within elastic limit. So this stress is proportional to strain. So stress is given by sigma. Strain is Greek symbol E. So and this constant is given by E, capital letter E. So this capital letter E, we call it as Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity. Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity. Unit, it is megapascals or Newton per mm square, both same, or Newton per meter square. So stress is also given by same unit. So unit conversions also matters when solving the problem, right? Hooke's law states that stress sigma is directly proportional to strain, Greek symbol E, within elastic limit, and this constant of proportionality that is equal to modulus of the material. Modulus is a material property. Different material is having different modulus. It depends on whether it is steel or it is aluminum. Modulus is different, right? Around steel, it is 200 megapascal, 200 into 10^3 megapascal. If it is aluminum, it is around 80. You will get into 10^3 megapascals, right? So this is a Hooke's law. So also remember this equation for Hooke's law, equation of Hooke's law. You need to remember this. So till now we have many equations like stress. The stress is given by force by area. Then strain is given by change in length to original length, delta L by L. Then we have a volumetric strain equation, change in volume to original volume, delta V by V. Then we have Poisson's ratio equation mu, lateral strain to linear strain. Then Hooke's law equation. We have sigma is equal to E into E. That is Greek symbol E into modulus of elasticity, capital E. So these are the equations till now what we have learnt about. So you need to note down these equations. So I am telling, if you want this subject to be easy, just note down these equations. So else if you're just listening or wasting the time by looking the slide, right, it does not matter. Right, we will be finishing off this theoretical part. We'll be going to derivations and problems in next classes. So better note down the equations. You will be familiar with this. Right, this is about Hooke's law. Next we have a basic definitions of principle of superposition. For example, just wait. So principle of superposition. write it in a straight manner. So imagine it is a straight rectangular block. Imagine it is a straight rectangular block. So just imagine this block is applied with a load. So this is some 10 units. So this will be some 15 units of the load. So these two are compressive loads. And this is another 10 units of load. So this is the another 5 units or 5 kilonewtons. Just imagine all these are kilonewtons of loads. Right? So this is the block. So principle of superposition, I'll just explain that with that diagram. So what is the principle of superposition? So you just look at this, just is a straighter bar. It is applied with a, if the forces that are applied, different forces are acting on a single member at different positions. So you just imagine we have A, B, C, and D. So we'll divide this block with certain points. So this point is A, B, C, and D. So principle of superposition suggests that you have a problems on principle of superposition. You have a problems on principle of superposition. So the total force acting on the block B, F. So just what is this F? F is the total force acting on this entire block at different locations. The staying in the principle of superposition, so whatever the forces which is tensile, the forces which is tensile, the forces which are tensile, we take that as positive, right? The tensile forces are considered as positive, and the compressive forces, we consider it as negative. The compressive forces are taken as negative. The principle of superposition suggests that it tells that the sum of all the forces acting on the body should be constant. Right. When a number of loads are acting on a body, the resulting strain according to the principle of superposition is the algebraic sum of the strains caused by the individual loads, while using the principle for an elastic body which is subjected to number of direct forces, whether it is tensile or compressive at different sections along the length of the body. We draw a free body diagram for individual sections is drawn. Then the deformation of each section is obtained. The total deformation, the body will be then equal to algebraic sum of all the sections. Right? So what does it say? Right. You know that force is sigma is equal to force by area, or force is equal to sigma into A. So remember this equation, right? The principle of superposition will says that, so if many forces are acting at different locations of a body, so divide that into individual short bars, so that I have divided into A, B, C, and D. So AB is one block, BC will be another block, CD will be next block. So what we do is, so we are going to calculate the strain. So that is delta L at AB. Calculate delta L, that is change in strain at AB. And similarly, you calculate change in strain at BC, change in strain at CD. So the total change in length delta L will be equal to change in length at AB plus Similarly, change in strain at BC plus change in strain at CD. So this is what it is given by principle of superposition, right? So how to calculate strain? You have a basic equations. We have a basic equation of force, and also we have a basic equation of sigma is equal to Young's modulus, that is Hooke's law, E into E, and we have a delta L equation. Strain is given by change in length to original length equation. So combine all these equations to find the change in length at respect to sections. So the principle of superposition explains that. So whenever a number of forces acting at a block, we are going to calculate the change in length at each division of the block at respect to block. Then total strain in the block, it is given by sum of the change in length at individual sections. Sum of the change in length or sum of the strain at individual section will get you the total strain in the block. So how to calculate this strain? So use these basic equations and calculate the strain, right? So if it is a compressive, forces are induced in the block, so there will be decrease in length. You will get minus value. If tensile forces are induced, you will get delta L as positive values. If compressive forces are induced, you will get as strain as negative values. So you add all those things, you will get total strain. So that is defined by principle of superposition. Principle of superposition. So you will have a first set of problems on principle of superposition, right? Next. Next is modulus of elasticity. As you know that it is defined by Hooke's law. Hooke's law states that stress is directly proportional to strain within elastic limit, and constant of proportionality it is E, capital E. So by Hooke's law we define modulus of elasticity as linear stress to linear strain, and this linear stress, ratio of linear stress to ratio of linear strain. So this linear stress can be tensile or compressive, and strain also be tensile or compressive in nature. And we have a last set of maybe the next definition, factor of safety. So we need this factor of safety. Factor of safety, if we consider any of the working component or any of the material that has been used in any machine components, right? So that is designed, all the materials are designed with by considering the factor of safety. So why we consider the factor of safety? For example, consider a shaft or any shaft that is rotating. So the designer will give you, for example, consider your washing machine, right? So they will give that the machine can rotate with a maximum of 100,000 RPM, right? So that will be designed with respect to 1000 RPM, right? Not only 1000 RPM, if any load fluctuations it is there, so it can go more than 1000 RPM, but they will give the limited factor as 1000 RPM. So there will be sufficient safety factors has been considered. So that is factor of safety will be considered. So it can work for that cycles for a number of period of the number of cycles with that particular speed. So without undergoing failure, the shaft will not undergo any failure, right? So why it is considered is, so they have ensured sufficient factor of safety. Or you consider any accidents. So for example, any car you take, if it undergoes any accident, so many of the parts will not damage due to that impact forces, due to the impact force of the car. So it is not undergoing factor. For example, if the maximum load that the material can withstanding maybe 100 Newton, so it is impacted with 100 Newton, so it gets damaged. So if it is impacted with less than that ultimate load, the material will not damage unless it will be in, it has sufficient strength so or toughness so that it is not undergoing any fracture, that will take that impact load and it will not undergo any fracture. So we define factor of safety with respect to ensure sufficient strength or reserved safety in the material or all the considering the factor of safety, considering the factor of safety. The factor of safety is defined as ratio of ultimate stress. We'll define this ultimate stress and all in next slide. It is defined as ratio of ultimate or yield stress to working or allowable or design. We call all this as single terms. Whether it is working, allowable or design stress, everything remains the same. Everything is same. Whatever it is given in the problem, if it is working, it is same. It is nothing but allowable or design stress. So, but factor of safety for brittle material will consider it as ultimate stress. For ductile material, will consider it as yield stress. Right. Factor of safety for ductile material, it is yield stress to design stress. For brittle material, it is ultimate stress to design stress. So this will tell why it is this in the next slide. So remember this equation also. You need to remember the factor of safety equation. In the problem they may ask, also find factor of safety if it is asked. You have to be knowing this equation. If it is brittle material, sigma u by sigma d. Sigma u by sigma d, that is ultimate stress. If it is ductile material, it is sigma y by sigma d. Sigma d is design stress, sigma y is yield stress for ductile material. Okay. So next one, it is very important question. This has been asked. So after material property, it is the one of the important question. Material property is mechanical property of the material, that was asked many times. Then these basic definitions, what we have studied, that is volumetric strain, Poisson's ratio, these things also asked for 1 or 2 marks. So then another important question that has been asked in the question paper, that is stress strain diagram for ductile material or mild steel. Both are same. Stress strain diagram for ductile material or mild steel. So this you may have studied. So I'll just explain the diagram. So just imagine this is the standard testing specimen. So we will be testing this specimen with the application of tensile load in the universal testing machine. So these are all the holding purpose. These dimensions can vary. The holding dimension can vary. But the gauge length, it is given by L0. This remains constant. This is the gauge length. The gauge length will remain constant, right? So imagine this is applied with the tensile forces. So you can see the specimens. So this will be the specimens. So various specimens of different ASTM standards according to different standards. So it may be a flat specimen or it may be a circular specimen. The specimen will be like this, right? Okay, so to that specimen, just imagine it is fitted with a universal testing machine and applied with tensile load. Tensile load, the ductile material is applied with tensile load, and initial length, gauge length of a specimen is L0, right? Then according to Hooke's law, from point O, stress is proportional. It is a proportionality line. So as the stress increases, strain also increases. So from 0 to O, it is stress is directly proportional to strain. Stress is directly proportional to strain. And that we call it as proportionality line or proportionality limit. At point A, we call it as proportionality limit. So as at point A, this will be the stress, or load will be here. At this particular load, this is the stress and this is the strain. If you remove that load at this point, the material will go back to its initial shape. So this is the initial shape of a material. It will go back to this initial shape. So if you remove the load at point A. So from point A, if you further increase the load, the stress is also proportional. It obeys the Hooke's law till, but it is under elastic region, but it obeys the Hooke's law till point A. After point A, if the load is increased till point B, if the load is increased, the stress increases. The stress also increases, but the line is not proportional. It is slight curve is there. The line is not proportional. Slight curve is there. So at point B also, if you remove the load, it is in the elastic region. If it is in the elastic region. If you remove the load at this point also, the material will go back to its initial shape. This is the initial shape. At point B, stress is not proportional to strain, but it slightly varies. The stress and strain values are not proportional. So up to point B, if you remove the load at point B also, the material is going to its initial shape. So at that point B, we call it as elastic limit. Elastic limit. If you write a straight line here at point B, so from O to this point B, we call it as elastic region. We call that as elastic region. O to B is elastic region. So at point B, if you remove the load, the material will be going to its initial shape. So this is the initial shape. So from point B, if the load is increased, the material strain also increases. With little increase in the load from point B, the stress also increases and strain increases. The material after B will go to the deformation state. That is, if you remove the load after point B, the material is not going to its initial shape. The material goes on elongating and it remains in that particular condition and it is not going to its initial shape. So that region after point B, we call it as plastic region. Throughout, we call it as plastic region. That is after point B. So it goes to the permanent deformation condition. So that we call it as, that point we call it as yielding. The material just starts to yield with increase in load. So that point C we call it as upper yield point. That point C is called as upper yield point. So after the material goes to this upper yield, that is starts to yielding, that is material in the permanent deformation condition, that it goes to the plastic state, it starts to yielding, that we call it as upper yield point. So from this point C, with decrease in load, so here the load is higher. So with decrease in load, for lesser loads, the material strain increases. So that material strain increases with decrease in load. So that point we call it as D, that is lower yield point. So that is lower yield point. So further, when we increase the load, the material goes on elongating. Let's see that the material is elongated from point D. If you increase the load, goes on elongating. You see that the neck length, the length of the gauge length increases from L0. It goes on increasing with the increase of load. You can see there. So at the point E, the material gauge length is maximum. You can say that. So this is the maximum length with the formation of the neck. With the formation, you can see that there's a neck formation. As the stress increases or load increases, the length of the material goes on increasing, the gauge length. So at this point E, the material can absorb the maximum or it can take a maximum load at this point E with maximum increase in length at point E, right? So that point we call it as ultimate point or ultimate stress, So this is point E is ultimate stress, where material can take a maximum load, ultimate load. So that ultimate load we call it as ultimate stress. The stress induced due to that ultimate load is called as ultimate tensile stress. So after this point, there is a decrease in load. The material starts to, the crack formation will start at the neck, So with decrease in load, there is a increase in strain and the material will break. Material will break at the neck, and this point F is called as breakage. Point F is called as breakage point. So this is very important. This has been asked many times. For 6 to 8 months. You need to write these sketches, explain the sketch. So we consider standard tensile testing specimen of gauge length L0, and after application of the length. So this is the maximum length of the specimen after applying the load. Before it fails. Right? L is the maximum length after applying the force before it fails. So this is about stress strain diagram for ductile material. So if you have any doubts, you can explain. So I'll share this so you can see that. So these lengths may vary, but gauge length remains constant as per the standards. There are different standards depending on the equipment, that is testing machine. We will use, depending on the material type, if it is a polymer composites and all, we'll use these flat specimens. If it is a metal, can also use like aluminum, we'll use this. If it is steel and all, we'll go for these circular cross sections. So there is a actual standard table. Depending on that standard specimen, we'll select the dimensions. So different standards are there, like E8 standards. So next class we'll start with problems, and we have a stress strain diagram for brittle material. We have stress strain diagram. We'll just take maybe attendance poll is visible. You can, by the time you can not finish off the attendance. So we'll do this in the next class. Brittle material. So principle of superposition, you be study thorough with that. So we'll solve the problems on principle of superposition in the next class.